I'm Mrs. Canales. That's my,
Canales?
yeah, like canal,
Yeah, I got
and then less.
less of a canal.
And it is a canal because it's Italian. And that's my husband's name, not mine.
Somebody's got to take the blame.
Yeah,
Might as well be me.
that's what I say. My last name is Earp, like Wyatt Earp. Why? I says, I was just linked the name.
That's all. That's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was it's a war chant that they had because it was people that lived in the canal, in the canal area. So
Yeah,
that's,
it was one who or lived near a canal. So they would say the people, oh, the canals. So they go. Yeah, that's the way it stays. But people
even though there's a designer called Canali. So
I'm the
changed.
poor one. I don't get to design anything.
I changed it.
I'm about as Italian as a can of Chef Boyardee.
My maiden name was Contreras. Contreras. So that's how I say it. Contreras.
Contreras means
Contreras.
she always gives you the opposite. She always has to have the last word. She's contrary to everything. So if I say anything, I always get shut down.
But again, it's Spanish. So you can see the influence of the Spanish going into Mexico. My grandfather was Casa Cantú, but he was also Spaniard. And then my dad, his mom was Mia, who is German. So you can see the mixture already. Now because of the internet and all that, we have that mixture. And but we had it in the past also. So that's basically what I'm gonna say. My son, he's the one that's now doing the lectures because I take too long.
I can't believe that.
We've gotten a lot of information since we've been here.
My dad takes longer.
So my son, he'll tell you. I'll move.
I'm Luis Canales, named after my dad.
Not Junior.
Not Junior though. No, I have a middle name.
Thank God.
Like what she said, I do have my bachelor's in dance itself. I got it actually from Texas Women's University, which is the #1 school of dance in the state of Texas.
Where's that at? Denton?
In Denton, yeah. And then.
You're not gonna ask women's? The male? Okay.
Actually, I was the first one to perform at the church, the chapel there at Texas Women's University. My name is on there. I was the first male to ever enter into that chapel that they had there.
Wow.
So yeah, my name is on a little plaque
My
there.
daughter lives just south of Denton.
Oh. Yeah, so my name's there in the chapel. Then I got my master's and my PhD. My master's is in curriculum and instruction and education, and my PhD is in administration education. So I went all the education route. So we're going to be talking about.
Her?
Oh yes.
Well, him. Let's go ahead.
Yeah. Well, both of them are from.
Sí, ven.
They're from Oaxaca, like what my
Pero
mom was
let her
saying.
and we'll translate.
¿Quieres decir algo? En español, podemos, sí, podemos.
Bueno,
Mi
acá
marido es
está.
bueno para eso, ya se me descubrió. She can say in Spanish.
¿Cómo se llama?
Claudia Martínez, para servirle.
Martínez, I got that.
Sí,
Claudia.
vengo del estado de Oaxaca, es al sur de México. Es un estado muy rico de tradiciones y el atuendo que he visto es un atuendo tradicional de todos los días. Es un costumbre, un traje que se usa para diario en el istmo de Tehuantepec, de donde provienen las tehuanas, que es el traje que todos portan, que es bordado y con resplandor. Ese es uno de gala. Dependiendo en qué región de Oaxaca es el costum que se va a usar, como si hay para Día de Muertos o si hay para velorios, fiestas patronales y los que usamos todos los días.
So she's from the state of Oaxaca, the southern part of Oaxaca. And what she's wearing is what they wear every day. This is their everyday use. Now they do have different outfits, and she was saying that they use it for different events like Day of the Dead or parties and festivities that they have. Oaxaca itself is very rich in the culture itself as far as embroidery and the artwork that they have. Oaxaca is well known for that across the world now because of like the movie Coco and all of that stuff. So the culture is very rich in that area of Oaxaca.
Pero puedes decir que estás de México, de la
Sí.
Ciudad de México, ¿nacida de ahí?
Sí, sí, no nacida de la Ciudad de México. Y ya tengo 25 años viviendo en el estado de Oaxaca, pero mi madre es oaxaqueña, de los valles centrales. Oaxaca es un estado que se divide en 8 regiones diferentes. Y yo pertenezco a la región del centro, donde está la ciudad de Oaxaca.
So she's originally from Mexico City. She was born in Mexico City, but her mom was from Oaxaca. So she traveled back to Oaxaca. She's lived there for 25 years, and she's actually now, she's situated in the center of Oaxaca itself.
Oaxaca's way down there. It's a long way down there. How many miles?
From Mexico City or from
Or
us?
from here?
From here,
Oh, yeah.
de aquí,
Like 1,000?
no, más o menos.
Dos
Sí.
días, ¿no? Como camino.
En autobús
Sí, en autobús.
es un día, 24 horas.
24. It takes
Yeah,
24
por el
hours on bus.
occidente.
Yeah.
On the bus?
On the
and
bus.
he's driving all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Non-stop.
Más después ahí te siguen y más después
más después podemos
seguimos con usted.
Thank
Okay,
you.
you wanna talk about it?
Yeah, so
Go
we're
ahead.
going to be talking about the different, how everything was actually created. First starting off with the gods, the Aztec gods, and then traveling into what we see today. A lot of the culture itself actually does stem from the gods. There's one, and my mom was actually talking about it earlier. It's the Mother Earth. Her name is Xochitlcalli. Xochitlcalli? Yeah, She's actually the one that started off, well, she's Mother Earth and also death. She was the goddess that was in control of that. And the Indians actually paid a lot of respect to her just because of their crops. If it was a bad crop, that means that the goddess was angry. So a lot of the costumes and a lot of the embroidery was based to give her praise. And actually, a lot of the northern states now still give that praise to her. So yeah, this is just the example of what they did back then. So this is the huipil and also the keshkem. Now the huipil itself is the full body. This would be considered a huipil.
Este es el huipil.
Yeah, it's a full
And
body.
sometimes it's shorter.
Yeah,
A veces es más corta.
más corto. So it's sometimes a little bit shorter. And then you have the keshkem,
Kim.
which is this. It's in a V shape. Now the
The
reason,
poncho.
yeah, the poncho. Now the reason for the V shape itself does have its meaning. It's the triangle, and again, it goes back to that of the goddess, right? The goddess was known for the pyramid itself, representing that all of us end up going back to the earth, right? So her symbol was the triangle itself. Now, if we take a look at this, the keshkem, this is actually from Hidalgo. Yeah, and the embroidery itself is all hand done. If you notice on this one, you can see there's birds. There's actually designs down here. Now, the designs in the bottom, or actually these designs, are supposed to represent the constellations. The Aztecs, well, the Indians would actually use that a lot. The Mayan and the Aztecs, they both would use the constellations a lot. And they would represent her constellation, right? That goddess constellation. So they would use that. Now the birds itself is also representative of protection for the people from that area. They would see it as one native actually explained it. She said that the people are like flowers, and bugs and worms attack the flower. So the bird comes and removes those the bugs and stuff from penetrating into the flower, and that's why the bird protects. So that's why they wear it on their clothes, to actually show protection, so that way no harm would be caused to the women from that area.
What kind of a bird?
It can be any bird. Sometimes they'll have ducks. They'll have hummingbirds. They'll have quetzal, pericos, parrots, all different
Eagles.
styles.
Pergaminos.
Oh, yeah, el corre camino.
Yeah.
Roadrunners.
Roadrunners. Okay. And and another one, I think I have it back here. Yes.
El que tiene ahorita es el corre camino, ¿no? No, sí.
Has the flower. Now the flower itself has a meaning to to the indigenous people. When they are pregnant, the flower actually represents how many months the lady would be pregnant, and they would actually embroider it onto their geskem.
So as
As
the time progressed, they
They
added
would add the
another.
petals to it until it was time for them to actually give birth. The whole thing would be completely filled.
Oh.
Yeah, and their ideas, if you see it, if you see several on their outfits, that's how many children that they have. Mhm. Yeah, and again, this goes back to the goddess, right? The Mother Nature, and it's also protection. Well, the flower itself represents the woman.
And thank God that this one, if you turn it around, you can actually see the knots where it's all done by hand. So ¿cuánto se tarda algo así para hacer a mano? Como
Si es en hilos delgados tardan de 3 a 6 meses y si es con unos hilos anchos como 2 meses en terminarlo.
About
Una
two-
sola persona.
about 2 months just to make this.
Oh, wow.
And in this is what they use for the quilts to unite it. But here they put it, you know, so it won't fray. But if you see the quilts, the American quilt, they have this, which is I already forgot what it's called, but it's a stitch that they use. And then this is a cross stitch, and I have an example back there in patterns of the actual cross stitch and how to do a little bag or whatever with the cross stitch. The colors.
Yeah, there is the colors. There's actually supposed to be 4 main colors, which was red, green for the Huasteca people, yellow, and the blue. They started adding the pink just as another spin-off of the red. But the red itself has great importance because it's supposed to protect against envious people against you. So this was actually, a warning, right,
So
so that way nothing, they call it the evil eye, so that way the evil eye won't attack you. So that's what the red was for. The yellow, the green are supposed to actually represent the tree of life, those colors. And again, a lot of the artwork has a lot of the tree of life in it. And again, it's just representing life and death, right, our tree of life. And also, it represents the family tree. So that's what we have the blue. So that way the next generation can remember where they came from and how people have suffered for them to be where they are at. So that is their colors that they use.
So instead of having DNA, there it was.
Yeah.
That would be better than DNA.
So yeah, so this is Oaxaca.
No.
I mean Oaxaca. Hidalgo.
Hidalgo. Thank God
You
we
would have
have
believed you.
Sorry.
No, thank God we have somebody that. No, we get so involved. It's like.
Que es que me depende
Sí,
que
ajá,
es
el
diferente.
One thing, el cachquemel a veces lo usaban arriba del huipil,
Del huipil.
¿verdad? En
Yeah.
los dioses. Sometimes the cachquemel, which is the poncho,
Yes.
was worn over the huipil. Okay, this one, perdón.
En particular este huipil que tiene en la costa se usa sin las mangas.
Okay,
Se
yeah.
pone como un
See, and then when in the hot weather, this one, they wear it without the, without the sleeves. But this one, they would wear it daily, but
de ladies.
they would embroider this, but with cotton. Okay, because the embroidery, the threads that they had was not silk.
Yeah. That didn't
This
represent-
is a Spanish influence.
Yeah.
If you see the traditional huipil, it will be in the cotton.
Yeah.
Okay, And sometimes hay un árbol, there was a tree,
Yeah.
que a veces usaban también. There was a tree and they would make a thread out of it too. And so this, and the ribbon is not, you know, it came from Spain.
Yeah.
It's Spaniard. Okay, so this is the only change. The style itself, the gods and all that, they would have them. This is the Codex, which is a book that they actually had, and it shows the women wearing something similar. Now again, it was shorter. It was shorter. Y ese abajo, ¿cómo se llama?
Enaguas.
Enaguas, which is the skirt, like what I have underneath.
That's the enaguas.
Is that a separate piece underneath your?
O
Yeah.
enredo.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the enagua was
Es un
wrapped.
enredo.
It was wrapped, and then they would wear a belt, you know, to keep it. But usually they would wear like this. It's easier to, you know, work with. Whenever it was something like this, that they were more of a high society, they would wear something like this. Now the Quechquemed, this is another one that came out in the Codex. So can you imagine how old this is? Okay, so they had all of this, and then all the tribes, the Indian tribes are here, and then some more Indian tribes. This is an actual, you know, they kind of drew a painting, but it's based on it. And again, you see the Quechquemed, you see these two that played here. The cloaks, they're named something else, where the noblemen would wear. Okay, so I mean, down here, it shows the time what they would wear also. So if you have time, you can come over and see it. Nowadays, they have it, they're using it now, still using it. So, I mean, it's something that we could go over and over.
Yeah.
There's so many things that we can explain. Now, I'm explaining about the European, he's gonna follow that.
Yeah. So, from there, the Europeans came in. They conquered over Mexico. A lot of the stuff changed. The capes that were actually used for the priests from the Aztecs changed to the Virgin Mary. So they would actually wear the Virgin Mary cape, representing how the Catholicism came in with the Spanish. Now, the style of dresses also changed. Okay. So the Spaniards came over and they changed the dress completely. They went from what we see here, right? From this to this, right? They were like, wow, what pretty dresses. So we're gonna start changing our dresses as well. So they started merging the two cultures together. And then we started getting our outfits that we have today. Well, not today, right? But a little bit more modern. So yes, we still have the idea of the blouse and the long skirt, the full skirt. The petticoats started coming in. The bloomers started coming in, and also the boots started coming in. Yes. Now this was actually brought by the French. There is a really good movie that is with Felix, Maria Felix, and it talks about the boot, how she actually, a French can-can girl, came over on the boat and met Adelita, who was played by Maria Felix, and she gave her a pair of the first boots that were actually brought over. And of course, they were a little bit smaller and they were laced up, and she would wear them all the time because she loved them. So that style started coming more into the Mexican culture. I'm going to have Mirada actually stand up. This is one of our dancers, and she is wearing, again, what the French would have had brought over from Mexico itself. If you notice again, here's that blouse, the very French style blouse. The skirt as well, it became shorter, right? Because we're merging both styles. The long skirt became a little bit shorter, right? And then you have the slip as well underneath. Now the dress itself, this is from the state of Nuevo León. You can see it there on your map. And this has several styles to it. This is the more expensive style, and look, while she'll go over there, just because of all the satin and the ribbon that's implemented into it. Now again, the Spanish did bring over the satin ribbon. Before that, it was actually just the cotton that they would use. Okay, so this again was introduced into the Indian culture. Also, if you notice, she does have the cameo, yeah, and her earrings. The gold, again, how sad, but the Spanish actually stole it away from the Indians, and they started making it into jewelry, because before that, they were just like plates or little round cylinders that they would use for cups and all of that. So they would melt it and actually end up making the jewelry out of it. They would take it back to the Europeans and they would make all the jewelry. Now the cameo, again, very French, right? So we have that influence that was brought upon it. Now she also does have her fan, okay, that the Spanish brought over, and it is, yeah, the wooden fan that you would see over there. Now the only difference is that they would they added the painting to it, right? So they would have their different painting that they would do. And again, they still kept the same ideas, the flowers, the birds, just like what you saw on the embroidery, they would put it on their fans itself. Yeah, so that way they're still keeping that Mother Earth with them at all times to use that protection.
And all those ruffles, is that from Spain or from France?
Both.
Both?
From both.
Now, do you make any costumes?
I do not. I do not have the kind of art.
And it does have the kick pleat, again, very, very Spanish.
Come around in the back. The other kick pleats in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, yeah. My mom loved fans. It's beautiful.
So that is from the state of Nuevo León. Now, where they really landed was in the state of Veracruz, right? The Spanish first landed there. And you can really see how the Spanish influence brought into the outfit itself. Now Mirari's going to bring up the skirt and the shawl and the apron. Now there's a lot more things that go with this as well. We just didn't bring it all. So this is the skirt itself. Now the skirt itself does have a meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Okay? This actually represents the ocean. Okay? When you wake up in the morning, and if you're by the ocean, you'll actually see the sea foam on top of the water. It'll be very calm, and the sea foam would be on there. That's what this represents, is that sea foam that's on top. Now, on the correct ones, you'll have the tail. There's a lot of Veracruz dresses out there, and they don't have the tail because they don't know how to dance with the tail. It's very hard to dance with it. But you will have the tail. And again, why? Because of the Spanish influence, right? The flamenco dancers that came in, they have their bata de cola, real long cola or tail, and they would dance with it. So that's why this dress has it. Now, if you notice on the dress itself, it has the fan, okay, and that again by the Spanish, and it has to have the bow. Now, why the bow? Well, in Veracruz itself, they're known for one specific dance, and that's called La Bamba, right? And in La Bamba, they make the bow with their feet. So they incorporated that into their dress as well. Yes? So, the correct outfit should look like this. There's some that are a little bit more simple, or there's some that are flower printed. Now, the flower printed is more the indigenous, but this is what the Spanish actually brought over into the state of Veracruz. And they also have the apron. Now the apron itself, well, this one's a little one, but the apron itself is usually longer. Yeah, it's usually bigger, and it does have, again, it still has the flowers, and sometimes they'll put the birds on there as well. Again, going back to the embroidery, sorry, I lost it for a while. Going back to the embroidery of Mother Nature, right? So that's still very important in their everyday wear. Now they do have the shawl that actually goes on top as well. And again, it's very Spanish, right? All the lace was brought over by Spain, so they would wear that as well. Okay, on the headpiece as well, they would have the comb, the Spanish comb that they would wear, and then they would have the flowers and the bow. Now, a lot of the colors itself also has African influence, right? Because when the slaves started coming over to the States, they landed there in Mexico, in Veracruz. So that merger of Spanish with indigenous and African all combined to make what you see in the Veracruz dress today. Yeah, so it has a lot of different influences. The dance style as well. You have the footwork, which is very Spanish, but then you have some of the movement that's very African movement. It's because of that combination of all different types of mixture.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
We had a professor from UTRGV come, and he talked about how in Mexico at one point in time, 1/3 of the population had African blood.
Correct. Yeah.
And then, so there is a very strong influence.
And there still is a tribe in Veracruz that is all African. They haven't experienced the outside world yet.
Wow.
They still live like,
That's so
yeah,
interesting.
very indigenous. They want to make sure that nobody actually interferes with it.
He said that in the 1800s that it became, when politics started getting involved, that people that were born with their birth papers saying that they had African blood in them, that by the time they got married, those papers, though their marriage certificates were now changed.
Right.
They were Mexican or Spanish or whatever. But
Right,
not.
because they didn't want to have the African
Right.
anymore.
And so, because everybody says, well, what happened? And they're still in a lot of our blood. But
Right, but it's already been, yeah,
Exactly.
diluted down. Yeah, that's a really good question. Then right next to it, you have the state of Yucatan. Now, the state of Yucatan, again, very strong Spanish influence. She's going to bring up the outfit right now. Now, this has the mixture of the huipil, what we had talked about, and it has the embroidery still within it. But a lot of the meanings behind the jewelry that's used, the headpieces that are used, has that Spanish influence. Now you'll see different styles of it, of the Yucatan dress. This one is actually considered the expensive one, just because of the length of the embroidery that's on here. Now sometimes you'll have it even longer, you'll have it up to here. That just shows you again the wealth of the person from that state. You have the rosary, again, that's brought over by the Spanish. And this is actually, not this one, but the real one is actually made out of coral. Okay, and the reason behind the coral is, again, they're close by the ocean. And the coral has that protection from Mother Earth. So they combine the Mother Earth with the religion of the Spanish to make sure that they have the full protection. And they wear this at all times, yes. And the earrings as well. Again, the Spanish influence, right? They melted down their gold and made the earrings. And again, they have that coral in there for their protection. And again, the flower. Why the flower? Because it's the woman, yes. So it's still representing womanhood in there. Now, in parties or jaranas, they would actually wear the hat. Yeah, and the hat kind of goes tilted to the side, and they wear it like so. Now, the reason for this is pretty interesting. If you notice, there's a mirror up in front. The people from Yucatan are very, very particular about how they look. So, yeah, very vain. I didn't want to use that word, but yes, very vain. So, instead of going to the restroom to powder themselves up, they would remove their hat and put on their makeup and then put it back on. So that way they wouldn't have to travel anywhere. They would already have it with them. But it also has the meaning from back. This is actually supposed to warn off spirits as well, evil spirits. And that's why in the Mexican culture you'll see or you'll hear about them talking about the mirror a lot. In the Mexican culture, supposedly, when there's a thunderstorm or when somebody passes away, you're supposed to actually cover the mirror. The reason being is that so that way they will find an easier way to the other world, so that they won't get stuck in limbo. For the storms as well, they say that you need to cover it so that way, you know, nothing bad will end up happening to your house or to your loved ones. So that was the other meaning, so that way they can warn off those evil spirits. Again, the Spanish brought over the rebozo, or the shawl. Again, this is a mixture of the keshkem, but they made it into a shawl, right, based off of the Spanish influence. Now you'll have some that are made out of seda, pure silk. This is actually a mix, this is a blend, but the pure silk ones, if you were to get a ring, the test to see if it was real, if you get a ring, you should be able to pull the whole rebozo through it, and that'll tell you that it is pure silk. If not, then it's made out of a different blend.
Man-made.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like
Be careful, she'll steal the hat. There's a hat always.
I like a flexible. That's neat with that mirror up there. I couldn't believe them when you said they were sideways.
Oh, yeah. How to dance with.
Isn't that gorgeous?
I thought you were going to say, so the guy could see his in the mirror, you know.
No, the girl's
That he
worried
was
about
a
her.
prima donna, you know.
And the little earrings are over here.
I'm going in.
I know.
And those are,
So we have to make a copy.
Yeah.
that was pretty, but oh, I wouldn't like
Pero ella lo va a
them.
mandar a
Sí,
hacer.
ya lo mandé a hacer. Digo, están And a little bow we wear.
Back of the head.
Look at this.
We already had on.
Eso es lo que vamos a poner.
Porque viene todas las regiones.
Lo que te enseñé es un poquito de la...
I'm gonna jump a little bit just so that way she can have time to talk. I'm gonna go into Puebla really quick and Querétaro. Just real, so that, to
Mira,
give her time.
I'm upset.
Why?
Okay, go ahead.
I
I was ready. I was ready. Okay, keep on going.
I just wanted to show the different styles. Yeah, I dropped it over here.
¿Me la llevan acá?
I got it. So this is actually when.
Esta es la de Soria.
Yeah.
Tengo que cuidar. That one's hers.
Yeah.
Ese es...
I have the other one over there.
No,
So, this is actually when the Spanish arrived, right? They came with their styles of dresses. This was actually one of them as well. Now, this one, if you notice, it does have the sequins. Now, where did the sequins come from? It actually came from the Orient. Yes, so a lot of the Arabic, the Chinese, were the ones that actually introduced the sequins. Now, there's a story that is written down that says on one of the boats that the Spanish brought over, they had a lady that was dressed like so. And they would call her China. And they would say China, y China, y China. And they would say what she would wear was actually called the China Poblana. And that's where they actually came up with the idea of it. But as we did further study, she wasn't Chinese. She was actually Indian. And she had all of her dresses like so. And if you notice, you can see the Indian pattern in there with it. So a lot of this was actually brought along with it. The slip itself is pointy as well. And again, this goes back to the Moorish influence, right? So once she started coming in, a lot of the Arabic and the Moorish people started coming in. So this was basically what they brought over as well. Now, from this, the Mexican people were there like, well, we can jazz it up a little bit more. And they created what is known as their national costume, which is the China Poblana.
Oh, wow.
Okay? And this is all done by hand as well. And it tells actually the story of Mexico. In front is the eagle. Yes, and the eagle represents where the Aztecs first landed and they created their city. Yes. In the back, you have the Aztec calendar. Right? So again, bringing in that the culture with the modern China. Right? So this is why these are very important. On the site itself, you'll have the dancers, or sometimes you'll have the Indians as well. So it's either or that you'll have on the side. And this is the dancer. Yeah, this one, the sequence, it's hard. We always have to like retouch up on the sequence because they always fall off. But the dancers die with this because it's extremely heavy.
Yeah,
it's already cold. Yeah, it's her. That's her dress.
And it's hurting some of them.
I know. I have to retouch it. Siempre estoy.
Me voy a poner glue.
Now, for the men itself, they would wear the chinaco.
Get out of the way.
This is actually the chinaco itself. So this is the chinaco. This is the riding outfit for the gentleman itself. Yeah, these are the pants. And they would have the coat as well, and they would wear the sarape on top. Now this actually is supposed to be two pieces. There's this piece that they would wear underneath, so it would actually be white pants, and then they would wear a covering on top. Now again, it's to protect themselves for the riding. So what they would do sometimes is that this would actually be buttoned up all the way. So you would just see this section, right? You wouldn't see the white part. And this is actually what you see now, the mariachi people wearing. That's the version of that. So that's where it came from, was actually from the Spanish. But they took off the pleat. Now the reason for the pleat was that sometimes it would get hot, so they would just unbutton and then it would create this pleat. Yes. So that way it's cooler for them when they're riding because of the heat of the horse. They would need to cool off, so they would just unbutton it and have that riding. Now the lace itself, again, very important, just because of the Spanish, and again it has the flowers, Mother Nature, still there, right in there. These are mine.
These are yours.
Yeah, those are mine.
It's already turning yellow.
I know, I have to wash it.
No, the age.
Yeah.
They can tell it's old.
Yeah, it's old. The lace is old.
Yeah.
Did you make them? Do you sew?
That one's bought.
I do know how to sew. My mom doesn't know how to sew too, but these were actually, we bought this one. This one was actually from Mexico.
The only thing was that we ordered it from a company that makes it all the costumes in Mexico, and it had the satin in the side, and I put that in there because it's not supposed to be satin.
Oh.
So sometimes they'll just do it just to sell. You know how
Dollar and run.
how that goes. So okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Are we ready?
Yes, she's for her.
Okay. This one is very rare. So she brought it in, and this shows all the indigenous people from Mexico. So you see all the, I don't know if you can kind of see all the little lines.
Yes.
But those are all the people that are from, this is a very rare, I saw it and I said I want it, and she says no, it's mine.
Where did it come from?
¿Dónde lo consiguió esta?
Esta es una recuperación que hace el Museo Textil en Oaxaca. Oaxaca es uno de los estados que tiene la mayor producción textil actualmente. Entonces, cada etnia...
Okay, this comes from the Museum of the Textile from Oaxaca. They finally did a museum, and they're showing all the textiles. In the world, es en el mundo. In the world, it's #1 in textiles.
La gente todavía usa el textil para vestirse personalmente, vestir a su familia, y también lo ocupa una manera económica de vender sus artesanías.
They do it, and they still wear it to show again the family pride and where they come from. You know, their actual pueblecitos. And then they have a feast. Le estoy agregando.
Sí.
A feast, and it's called the Guelaguetza.
Yes.
So all the people from the mountains come down and they show their textiles. And so it's a beautiful.
Sí, beautiful. La tradición del huipil en Oaxaca está muy ligado a lo que es la cultura de cada pueblo.
It's from every culture, from each little city, a little pueblo that they have. They have their own little style. And you know, that, like her, I'll say, okay, I like this, but I'm gonna add the road runner. Because we're from here. You know, I'll put the nopal. We don't have flowers. You know, this is a Spanish influence, the flowers and the satin stitch. Oh, God. Okay, go ahead. So,
En un huipil de cada uno de los pueblos se puede leer qué descendencia la mujer, qué representa en su pueblo, cuántos hijos tiene, si es viuda, si es soltera, si es casada, qué jerarquía ocupa en el nivel de su pueblo.
This indicates that every huipil is different in design.
Every what?
Huipil,
Huipil.
which is what that.
The
top part.
garment.
The blouse. It's called a huipil. So this one is in every pueblo, every little city, like McAllen, they put a palm tree. Oh no, McAllen has the you know, the growing, Mission has the little house. And so this represents that.
Okay.
From each little city, they're representing what the female was known. Now, sometimes the female was like me. So I would put stuff in there that was mine. So that way when it would pass down to my children, all of that memories of myself would be passed down. Then she would add hers. And it would just a continuous family tree in actually garment, which is basically almost like the quilts. Pieces of material and they added it on. Okay, but here they're actually doing the embroidery. In Europe, they did do it. For the high society, the women would, the king's daughters and princesses, they all needed to know how to embroider their emblem, their family emblem. Why? Because it was going to be a heirloom. Exactly. The same concept. It's still being done here. Over there, they're not doing it anymore. But here, it's still being done. So, you know, they have this, which is gorgeous. You know, I was born here in the United States, but I saw this work and I said, and then they were selling it 10 pesos, which is nothing. Which is nothing.
No, thanks.
And then the designers would have it for $1,000. You know, they would buy it for 10 pesos and then they would sell it for $1,000. So, you know, that's where she comes from, because she's trying to say, hey, don't take that much, it's a lot of work. 2 months, you know, that other one, come on, 2 months, work. And I mean, it's a lot of work.
Y la tradición de generaciones entre madres, abuelas y nietas es que cuando la mujer empieza a bordar, el huipil más importante que vas a hacer es ese huipil con el que te vas a casar. Y ese huipil nunca se puede vender, no se puede heredar, porque es un huipil que te llevas hasta la muerte. Y la mayoría piden enterrarse con su huipil, o algunas otras que se lo echen en el cajón, y muchas, la herencia de las abuelas que tienen algún huipil que les hizo, pues con esa se les entierra a las mujeres. Pero esa es una de las cosas que todavía perdura en la mayoría de las comunidades indígenas. El huipil que tú haces desde que estás casi joven dura toda la vida, porque lo empiezas a armar y muchas veces terminas ya hasta que eres anciano, y entonces pues ese huipil es el que te va a acompañar eternamente. Es toda tu historia, cada pedacito que vas escribiendo es lo que tú estás pensando en ese momento, y ahí sí que...
She was saying that that from generation to generation, they start embroidering the huipil. But the mother, the grandmother, and all, they add their own. There are some huipiles that they make that they're getting ready for their wedding dress. So they will make that huipil already, getting ready for their wedding. That's the only time they wear it. And then the last time that they wear it is when they die. They're buried in their wedding huipil. Okay, so they put everything in there of their daily lives and all of that into the huipil. It's just like, again, the quilt. The quilt, they make it and they use it, and you know, sometimes they'll have it in their little
Cedar chest.
gallery. Yes,
Hope chest.
hope chest. There we go. Yeah, the hope chest. And then they use it for the wedding, and they have it shown. And then when they bury them, they'll bury them sometimes in the quilts. So, right? Am I right or am I wrong? But I'm trying to, you know, show the similarity of the European and ours. But the Indians had this for the longest time, and they had it for ages and ages and ages. So that's why the textile is passed down. And the 9 años, right?
De 9 años.
The females start learning how to do it. 9 years old. We're here, there, you know.
But we learned to do it when we were young.
Mhm.
You know, my mother, I can remember the first dish towel my mother had me embroidery. You know, I would think I was about 7 years old.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it was something important. And now I tell them, gosh, you really? I like this. You know, it's all fitted into my body, you know.
Or it's got holes in the knees and all up and down.
Exactly.
And we wouldn't have wore it to school. We wouldn't have gone to school if we had to wear clothes like that.
Exactly. Exactly. Or the pants that are down here where you get to see. There was a Mexican artist in Mexico. His name was Cantinflas.
Yeah.
And he would wear it down here. And he would dance, and he had and the pants were down here. So the kids were there dressed in it. They go, what? I said, you're dressed like a Cantinflas. You know, the guy. And then the piercing, they go, you have anything against a piercing? I said, no. The Aztecs had it. They would have the Mayans, they would have the thorns, like the rose bush and stuff like that, and they would put it in a string, but also of the mantis, they would use that for bloodletting for the god. Yeah, I mean, the piercing, they would do it. You know, so that's all. And then their hair all blue and all that. Haven't you seen anybody with blue hair? I said, yes, the Indians from Mexico. They would paint it, and then they would braid it. And so they had different colors. But it was their hair where they would paint it. I said, yeah. Right? So, okay, back to you. Perdón.
No, está bien. Bueno, también es importante para Oaxaca que cada comunidad defiende y es muy particularmente celosa de sus tradiciones. Entonces, los huipiles nunca van a ser los mismos. Aunque pertenezca a la misma familia, ellos no van a hacer lo mismo. Si una nueva integrante, la nuera, trae una manera diferente de bordar o de telar, la suegra se encarga de que ella aprenda la nueva costumbre de la casa que está entrando. Esto hace que muchas veces entre la misma familia se vea la particularidad de las bordadoras antiguas, las nuevas y cuando llega este mestizaje. Aunque sea la misma región, esta mujer trae sus costumbres de su propia familia y las tiene que integrar a su nueva familia.
Okay, what she's trying to say is that in the actual garment itself, you get married. Right? And then you start getting used to your husbands and their family and their ways, but you have your way, right? So then there's that fusion between the marriage, and that's what marriage is all about. So what they do is also in the same thing, in the tejiendo, in the loom and all that, they have the one that's with the tree, and they actually put it around to make the fajas. But they, my daughter-in-law does it differently from me.
Yeah.
So I'm here like, yeah, whatever I did, you know. But just to make them happy, like my husband, he says, she's your daughter-in-law. I said, okay. So we have that fusion. I'll show her the way I do it, and she does it the way she does it, and then there's that mixture. So that's what she's trying to explain. And you can see it in the food that we eat and all that. So in this, they're very proud in doing that. But again, that's where the outfit starts changing a little bit because of that fusion. But again, when the Spaniards came over, you know, they got married and they said, oh, that's old-fashioned. We're going to put ribbon on it. We're going to put lace on it. And I mean, like all of us, I'm sorry, but females, if we can put more stuff on, we would put more and more, and we look like clowns, but hey.
We're gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So she's laughing because it's true.
Yeah.
My mother would say, put more. So that way you can show you have money. So the more you would put, you know, they would go, oh, look at this. I'm going to do it too. You know, so things like that. And it still keeps on going. One thing I'm going to mention to her, and Oaxaca is known for it. And I'm so proud of them because women's live. The women rule. They're very strong, headstrong women. And the reason, you can see it. You can see it in their work and all of that. I'm asking, what are the men? Yeah, they sing. No, and they work the fields. Muchas veces.
No, muchas no.
They, you know, they work the fields and all that, but the women are the ones that keep the house together. If it wasn't for the women, it's just nothing. And it's just like here, the pioneers.
That's what I was going to say. And just like at my house, if it wasn't for me, there would be nothing.
Oh, hell.
And he will tell you that. He will tell you that.
Exactly. So they have continued with that, and which is so good. They have the chanclas. Don't have them come up with the chancla.
What's that? Chastity belts?
The sandals.
Oh.
When they come out with that, you be careful with that chancla.
That's their weapon.
That's their weapon.
Yeah.
Like and here in Louisiana, the frying pan is their weapon. You see them coming out with, they start taking off their earrings, and you keep away. Woman, right away they know that you're ready. And that's another culture. Here, they take off the chancla.
You're in trouble.
Leave her alone. You know. So, but they're very proud, and I'm glad she's here. She has a store at Brownsville. I've sent a lot of her work to Washington D.C. to my sister, so that way she can see the actual, sell the actual tejido, the textiles from Oaxaca, because now they're asking for it. I was telling her that they have a lawsuit against France. The Indians from where? Miski. The Indians from Miski. It's a white. It's almost like that, but it's white, but it has maroon. Beautiful, beautiful design. Well, a designer from France is saying that it's her design. So a very famous singer from Mexico, Susana Harp, she is actually suing France, that was a designer, for that design. And it's real funny because she took the Indians from Oaxaca to France, and they're there and they look, oh, see, this is the design, but it's not well done. It's not well done. You know, it needs this and this. So they're actually saying what each little design meant. And again, it was stolen by them. So they're finding that out, and now Mexico's finally putting in a lawsuit. You were speaking about Day of the Dead. Disney wanted to get the selling rights, the rights to the that of the Day of the Dead. In other words, anything that you would sell a Day of the Dead,
You would
Disney
get
was
money.
gonna. And Mexico said, no, 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 no. How can you take our culture away and make money from it? Okay, so finally, that's coming out, finally, and it's because of them, they started that movement. Because of them, in Oaxaca, the language is finally coming out. It's a beautiful language.
Sí, son
There's several.
16 diferentes lenguas
16
indígenas.
different languages. So it's finally coming out, and it's just gorgeous. I use her, she sings, the Susana harp sings it in her native tongue, which is gorgeous, gorgeous.
Another is Lila Downs. There's another one.
Lillian Downs is another one. So, I mean, Oaxaca, if you do go to Oaxaca. And, you know, the Guelaguetza, I would advise for you to go.
Oaxaca es especial porque la gente de Oaxaca no se identifica primero como mexicano. A ella se identifica primero como su pueblo al que pertenece, después son oaxaqueños y al final te dicen que son mexicanos. Pero el oaxaqueño siempre ha sido unas personas muy místicas y muy interesantes, dependiendo de la región donde esté, porque Oaxaca es el estado que tiene desierto, tiene selva, tiene costa, tiene bosques húmedos, tiene semidesiertos y tiene pantanos. Está muy integrado de toda la república.
Well, Oaxaca is a state that's known for the different climates. You've got your desert, you've got your jungle, you've got your, all the different climates that are there. So you've got the fauna, you've got all of that in Oaxaca. So, when at the very beginning she had indicated that the people from Oaxaca, they don't consider themselves as Mexican, because again, and that's where, you know, Mexico City, they don't like them too much, but now they're accepting them, because to them the city is more important. That's a root of all things. If you don't know your roots, then who are you? So that's what they do. So their city is very important. And then again, Oaxaca, which is a state, but again it's government ruled, and then they say that they're Mexican. But first it's their own city. Because again, Aztec had their own city. They just found one in Guatemala for the snake king. They just found one. Huge Mayan city. Huge. They had their own roadways going to Mexico. Huge. They just found it. Bigger than, I don't know, some city. I forgot, in the United States. That's how big it is. Huge. They're able to see with the penetrating rays now that they have, because they're, you know, in the war they use them to see the tunnels, and if they're missiles, well now they're using that technology, and they found it. Huge, gorgeous. It's a snake king. He's a king of the snakes, because they have a lot of snakes. So it's something that, it's just gorgeous. Okay, enough of my talking.
Just to continue just a little bit, just to end it off, and we just, actually one of my art teachers, she came up to me and she goes, have you seen the new collection of Christian Dior for 2019 for spring? I was there like, no. And she goes, well, they based it off of the escaramuza, and that is actually the Mexican riding girl. And this outfit is actually from that. So Christian Dior's new collection is all based off of this.
Wow.
And she's using the Mexican woman as her idea for 2019.
Wow.
So this is actually the style that she's using.
That's interesting.
So we just finished. If you want to go ahead and take a look at the outfits, you can. If you want to take a look at her stuff, you can do that as well. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us and we'll answer them. Thank you.
Thank you.